There is a moment in Season 4 of The Office where Angela Martin, head of the party planning committee, office accountant, and self-appointed moral authority of Dunder Mifflin Scranton, stands in front of her coworkers and says, with complete sincerity, that she does not believe in after-work socializing. She says it like she is announcing a religious conviction, like she is drawing a line in the sand that the rest of them are too morally underdeveloped to understand. And the audience laughs, because it is funny, because Angela is always funny in that tight, pinched, furious little way she has. But here's what I kept coming back to when I rewatched this show with fresh eyes. Angela Martin is sleeping with Dwight Schrute in secret. She is also sleeping with Andy Bernard at the same time. She is engaged to one man while physically involved with another. She is violating every moral standard she claims to hold, in real time, behind everyone's back, and she is doing it so smoothly, so completely without self-awareness, that she never even flinches. She just keeps standing there telling her coworkers they should not socialize after work. That is not just hypocrisy. That is something more specific and more interesting than that. And once you start pulling on that thread, the whole Angela Martin character unravels into something the show was never fully willing to say out loud, but it is right there. Every single piece of it. So let us get into it. Let me start with the thing that rewired how I see this character entirely, because most people watch Angela and take her moral framework at face value. They think she is a strict Christian conservative who is also kind of a hypocrite about her love life, and that reading is technically accurate. It is also completely shallow, because the real question is not whether Angela is a hypocrite. Of course she is. The real question is why she needs the framework so badly in the first place. Think about what Angela's rigid moral code actually does for her. It creates a hierarchy. And in that hierarchy, Angela is always on top. She is the one with the standards. She is the one doing things correctly. She is the one who goes to church and follows the rules and does not waste her time on nonsense. And everyone else, her coworkers, her friends, the random people she judges on site, they are all failing to meet the bar she has set. That hierarchy is the entire point, because without it, Angela Martin is a middle-aged woman in a regional paper company doing accounting in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Without the moral scaffolding, there is no special status. There is no reason she is better than Kelly Kapoor or Meredith or Phyllis. There is just a woman at a desk in a dying industry in a mid-size American city. The judgment is not a personality quirk. The judgment is the architecture of her entire sense of self. And that matters because it explains everything that comes next. Here is the thing about the Angela and Dwight situation that gets glossed over because the show plays it mostly for laughs. They were together for years before the audience even knew about it. A secret relationship, hidden completely. Not hidden the way Ryan and Kelly were sometimes ambiguous, hidden on purpose, with active effort every single day. Think about what that requires. You have to lie to your coworkers constantly. You have to watch someone you are involved with pretend not to know you in certain contexts. You have to maintain a public identity that is entirely disconnected from your actual private life. And you have to do all of that while also loudly, visibly positioning yourself as the person who holds the moral high ground in every room you enter. The strain of that alone should be staggering. But Angela never shows the strain. And that is the part that stopped me cold when I really sat with it. Because either she is unbelievably compartmentalized, the kind of person who can hold two completely contradictory realities in her head simultaneously without them ever touching, or she has genuinely convinced herself that the rules she enforces so aggressively on other people do not apply to her own life. And I think it is the second one. I think Angela does not experience herself as a hypocrite. I think she genuinely believes she is different, which is so much darker. Here is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable, and I did not expect this when I started mapping her arc. Angela's relationship with Dwight is not just secret. The way she conducts it reflects something really specific about how she processes her own desires. She wants what she wants. She allows herself to have it. She just simultaneously refuses to let that wanting touch her public identity. She is not sneaking around because she is ashamed of Dwight exactly. She is sneaking around because being publicly connected to something messy and human and real would crack the image. And the image is everything. When she ends things with Dwight, genuinely ends them, it is because he killed her cat, which sounds absurd, but here is what is actually happening in that scene. Angela had placed something she loved, something vulnerable and soft and real, in Dwight's care, and he decided, with the same cold practical logic he applies to everything, that the cat was not performing well and should be dealt with accordingly. He violated her trust in the one area where she had actually let her guard down, and she cannot forgive it. Not because she is oversensitive about the cat, though she is, because that was the breach. That was the moment she trusted the real Angela, the one underneath the judgment and the standards and the perfect posture, and he failed her. And so she goes to Andy. She gets engaged to Andy, and while she is engaged to Andy, she keeps sleeping with Dwight. Let me just say that again. She keeps sleeping with Dwight for months, while wearing Andy's ring, while letting Andy plan the wedding, while maintaining the complete fiction that she is a faithful fiancé who is committed to building a proper, respectable life. The audience cringes. The audience laughs. But stop laughing for a second and just look at what is happening. This is not a woman who made a mistake and is trying to figure out how to get out of a bad situation gracefully. This is a woman who is systematically deceiving two people at the same time, one of whom is genuinely in love with her, and she is managing both relationships with complete control. control. Andy is not a passive actor here. He is a person, he trusts her, he is excited, he is singing about it, which, yes, is also funny. But he is real, and he is being lied to every single day. And the person doing it is the one who will not attend the office Christmas party if there is an inappropriate Secret Santa gift. That tension is not an accident. The show is doing something with it. It just never quite says it directly. Let me talk about the cats for a second, because people always bring them up when they talk about Angela, usually as a joke, but the cats are actually the key to understanding her emotional life. Angela loves her cats the way most people love other people. She talks about them constantly. She decorates her workspace with them. She brings them to the office in violation of policy. She names them, she mourns them, she has feelings about them that are completely real and completely unguarded. And the reason is pretty straightforward when you think about it. Cats cannot judge her. Cats do not have expectations she might fail to meet. Cats do not require her to perform the perfect Angela Martin. They just need her, and she gives them everything. That is not quirky. That is a person who has found the one relationship in her life where she can be vulnerable without risk. The cats are safe. People are not. So she is fully herself with the cats and performs a character with everyone else. Here is another thing that gets almost no attention. Angela is genuinely mean. Not in the blunt, occasionally offensive way that Dwight is mean, where you can at least trace it back to a worldview, however weird. Angela is mean in a targeted, personal, social way. She is the person at the office who has decided which women around her are worth respecting and which ones are not. Kelly gets her contempt. Meredith gets her disgust. Phyllis gets her condescension. Every woman in that office who is too loud, too sexual, too openly human in ways Angela has forbidden herself from being, she looks at them with this particular expression. The tight mouth, the slow blink, the look that says, I have already assessed you and the assessment was not favorable, and here is what I could not shake. Angela reserves her harshest judgment for the women who are most openly doing the things Angela is secretly doing herself. Meredith is known for being sexually free. Angela cannot stand her. Angela is carrying on a secret physical relationship outside the bounds of her formal romantic commitments. But Meredith is the one with the problem. Kelly is emotional and dramatic and wears her feelings everywhere. Angela treats her like a child. Angela is holding a grief about sprinkles so intense that she ended a multi-year relationship over it. But Kelly is the one who is too much. The harshest judgment always lands on the mirror. Now I want to talk about Senator Robert Lipton, because this is where the Angela story takes a turn that the show sort of acknowledges but never really reckons with. Angela marries a state senator, a successful, respected, good-looking man. She gets the life she was performing toward. The formal marriage, the real title, the public standing, the version of herself that the standards were always pointing at. And it turns out he is gay, which is, from a surface level, treated as a punchline in the show. Oscar and the senator are having an affair. Angela does not know, and when she finds out, everything collapses. But here is what that storyline actually is underneath the jokes. Angela built her entire identity around being the kind of woman who does things properly, who does not cut corners, who holds the line, and the life she got as a result, the marriage that was supposed to be the payoff for all the rigidity, and the standards and the decades of performing correctness, that marriage was a complete lie. Not her lie this time. His lie. She was deceived the same way she deceived Andy. And I am not saying that as karma exactly. I am saying it because the show put her there on purpose. It put her in the position of the person who is lied to and manipulated and kept in the dark by someone who wanted the appearance of a proper, respectable life. The same thing she did to Andy. The same structure, different people, and it destroyed her. The senator storyline is the one time in 9 seasons where Angela Martin is genuinely visibly broken. Not annoyed, not disapproving. Broken, she loses the marriage, she loses the house, she loses the income. She is living in her car, which the show does play for comedy, but it is also genuinely a person whose whole constructed life has come apart at the seams. And what does she do? She goes back to Dwight, which is either the most romantic or the most revealing thing in the series depending on how you read it. Because Dwight is the only person who has ever seen the actual Angela, not the performance, not the judgment and the standards and the cats and the rigid committee management. He has seen the person underneath all of that, and not because she showed him intentionally. He saw her because they were close enough and long enough that some of the armor came off whether she wanted it to or not. He is the only relationship in her life that has ever been real in that way, and she still has to hide it. Even when they come back together, even when they get married, there is this quality to how Angela holds Dwight where you can feel that she is aware he is not what she planned. He is not the image, he is the truth, and the truth has always made her uncomfortable. Let me go back to something that I think unlocks the whole character. There is a scene in the earlier seasons where Angela is managing a party, which she always is because she has made herself indispensable to the party planning process as a way of having institutional power, and she is overriding everyone's suggestions. She has the color scheme planned, she has the approved snacks, she has a vision, and she is going to execute that vision regardless of what anyone else wants. And Kevin suggests something. I think it is a different kind of cookie or some small deviation from the plan. And Angela looks at him with that expression and says no, not, that is a good idea but it does not fit the theme, not let me think about it, just no, with complete finality, with the absolute certainty that her judgment supersedes his desire before she has even considered it. That is the whole Angela Martin psychology in one small moment. She has a plan. The plan is correct. External input is not just unnecessary, it is a threat to the structure she has built. Let someone else's idea in, and suddenly you have acknowledged that your idea was not the only idea. And if your idea is not the only idea, then maybe your judgment is not automatically superior. And if your judgment is not automatically superior, then what exactly are you? The control is existential for her, which is why every deviation from the plan, whether it is a cookie suggestion, or Phyllis wearing a Santa costume, or someone bringing a dish that was not on the approved list, lands with such disproportionate force. Because it is never just about the party, it is about whether the scaffolding holds. Now here's the piece that I think people miss the most, and it is hidden in plain sight across every season. Angela is not happy. I know that sounds obvious. She is clearly not a warm, bubbly character, but I do not mean she is not happy in a personality type way. I mean she is visibly, chronically, structurally unhappy in a way the show acknowledges but never quite examines. She does not enjoy things. She endures them. She does not laugh easily. She does not relax. There is not a single scene in 9 seasons where Angela Martin just sits somewhere and seems at peace. She is always braced, always vigilant, always ready to catch the next violation or shore up the next boundary or correct the next deviation. That is exhausting. That is not a life philosophy. That is a defense mechanism running 24 hours a day. And the thing about defense mechanisms is that they exist because there is something being defended against, something that would hurt if it got through. Angela is running this particular system at full power all the time because somewhere underneath all of it is a person who is genuinely afraid. Afraid of being seen as less than. Afraid of being ordinary. Afraid that if she stops judging everyone else, someone might start judging her, and that judgment might be accurate. The cruelty, the judgment, the rigid standards, the constant need for control, they are not expressions of confidence. They are the opposite. They are the behavior of someone who knows that the image is fragile and cannot afford to let anyone get close enough to test it. And here is what makes me genuinely sad about this character, which is not a thing I expected to feel when I started thinking it through. The real Angela, the one who weeps over Sprinkles, who keeps Garbage the cat in a bag in the office because she needs him close, who cries in her car when her marriage falls apart, who ultimately just wants to be with Dwight even though he is nothing like what she told herself she wanted, that person is actually interesting. That person is real and complicated and specific, but she built a prison around that person so long ago that she cannot get out without tearing down everything she built. And the tragedy is not that the real Angela is bad. The tragedy is that the real Angela is probably fine, probably even likable if she ever let anyone see her, but she decided somewhere along the way, probably very early, that being real was dangerous and being correct was safe, and she has been paying for that decision ever since. Think about what the show actually tells us about her life before Dunder Mifflin. Almost nothing. We get fragments. She is from a conservative Christian background. She has sisters. Her family life is strict and structured. She was raised in a world where appearance and propriety mattered enormously, and deviation was costly. The character makes so much more sense if you've assumed that the Angela who shows up in Scranton was already thoroughly trained. Trained to perform. Trained to judge. Trained to believe that the rules were the point and not just the container. She did not develop that worldview in the accounting department. She arrived with it fully formed. Dunder Mifflin just gave her a new stage to perform it on, and a new set of people to be better than. Here's the thing about Phyllis that I want to sit with for a moment. The Angela and Phyllis relationship is one of the most consistently vicious dynamics in the entire show. Angela is relentlessly cruel to Phyllis. The condescension, the dismissal, the way she strips Phyllis of any role or recognition within the party planning committee at every opportunity, it goes well beyond normal workplace pettiness. And Phyllis does something that should theoretically be uncomplicated. She eventually starts pushing back. She tells Angela that she knows about Dwight. She uses that information to get what she wants in the committee. She wears the Santa costume. She does the things Angela said she could not do. And Angela's response is not just anger. It is something closer to panic, because Phyllis having leverage over Angela means the hierarchy has been punctured. The person Angela placed firmly below her now has something on her, and that structural reversal is genuinely destabilizing to someone whose whole psychology depends on the hierarchy staying fixed. What Phyllis does is not actually that dramatic in the grand scheme of things. She wants to be Santa. She wants a role in the party. These are small things, but to Angela they represent the ground shifting, and the ground cannot shift because everything is built on it. The disproportionate rage makes total sense once you understand what is actually at stake. Now let me talk about the finale, because this is where the show makes a choice about Angela that I find genuinely moving, even though I also find it a little too easy. Angela and Dwight get married. He builds her a farm life she actually loves, surrounded by animals, with real dirt and real weather and real physical work. She is visibly happy in a way we have almost never seen from her. Her face is different, the tension is gone, and there is a reading of that ending that is really sweet. These two bizarre, specific people who were always kind of made for each other find their way back despite everything. She gets the real thing instead of the image. He gets the person he always wanted. The cats are presumably happy, but here is what I keep coming back to. Angela never really reckons with any of it. She does not have a moment where she looks at Andy and says, "What I did to you was not okay. She does not have a moment where she acknowledges the years of judgment she aimed at every person in that office for doing exactly what she was doing. There is no conversation where she sits with the gap between the person she performed and the person she actually was. The show gives her the happy ending without requiring the honest accounting. And maybe that is fine. It is a comedy. People do not always get their full reckoning. Maybe the farm is enough, but I think about someone like Kevin, who Angela spent 9 seasons treating like a burden, or Meredith, who bore the full force of Angela's moral disgust for years, or Andy, who genuinely loved her and got used and discarded and never really understood what happened. Those people did not get the same grace the finale gives Angela. The show decided Angela deserved the clean ending. The real question is whether it earned it. Here is what I want you to sit with. Angela Martin is presented as the villain of the office social ecosystem, the joyless one, the one who shuts down fun and polices behavior and makes everyone feel judged and small. And she is all of those things. That is not wrong, but she is also someone who built an entire identity out of the terror of being ordinary. Someone who decided that the only way to matter was to be more correct than everyone around her. Someone who locked the real version of herself away so completely that even she probably forgot it was there sometimes, and then built walls around the lock, and then built walls around those walls. The judgment was never about them. It was never about the inappropriate Secret Santa gift or the wrong-colored streamers or Phyllis in a Santa suit. It was always about Angela, about the person she was afraid she actually was, about the life she was secretly living while the performance continued, about the gap between the image and the truth, a gap she spent 2 decades trying to hold closed with both hands. And the saddest part is that the real Angela, the one who loves fiercely and grieves deeply, and wants to be loved back by someone who actually sees her, she was always enough. She just never believed it. She was never the moral authority. She was someone who needed to be, because it was the only way she knew how to feel safe. And now that you have seen it, you will never be able to watch her make that face again, without knowing exactly what is underneath it.